to the, okay, so anyway, give me a minute till I find the Lord's
Yeah.
Prayer. And there's just a lot to cover. Did you get a hold of most of the documents I sent you an email and download them?
Yeah, I did. I actually I even sent into my work email so I can print it out, all of them,
Oh, good.
to have them. I tried to print it out. For some reason, my printer is not working.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens when you need it the most. It stops working. It's like
Yes, and I said, this is when I need it, and it's not working.
yeah, and that's, I'm very perfectionist about things, and still looking for my Lord's Prayer. I'm gonna bring up, well, it would be missing right now. I should know it by heart, but I use it in the more advanced classes too. Okay, it just, there's something going on with the paperwork today. Oh, good, it's at the end of the pile. Yeah, but there's a lot of, I have 20 or 30 pages of things, and I don't have it in a book because I've moved from one topic to the next as I go. But this is always a good way to set the tone. I didn't go to church today. I haven't been going because I'm just not that oriented that way. But, it's good on a Sunday to say the Lord's Prayer anyway.
Oh
And
yeah.
the
It is.
original Aramaic that was translated, I guess in the 19th century, sometimes from some of the records that were left in the Aramaic. So this is original vibration of Jesus's words. And this is one interpretation. There's many interpretations of the Lord's Prayer. But we call forth, first of all, I'm getting a download from the angels for you and for me. So feel this healing energy as we call forth Jesus, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Archangel Michael. And they're saying they're all here and not to worry about the printout or the scan. And let's go forth. And I'll read this to you.
Okay.
I'll try to get you a copy. The Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being, carve out a space within us where your presence may abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear fruit of our mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment, for you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth power and the fulfillment, and all is gathered and made whole once again. So that's a translation directly from the Aramaic, which was Jesus's original language, into the English.
Beautiful.
So it's very different than the King James version or
Oh yeah. To our Father.
The Catholic version. And they're all a little different. For thine is the power and the glory. I love that ending, but it's just a takeoff on what was originally a very simple language. And Aramaic is a version of Arabic today, but it was an ancient language. And it's not used that much, but a lot of people that are discovering their connection to Jeshua and Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, are using that prayer and using other expressions of his original teachings in the Beatitudes as well. So it's a very beautiful way of expressing cosmic birther instead of father, and it actually says cosmic mother, father in the Aramaic too. There's another translation, but I just like to open because that vibration brings us into the awareness of him, also the awareness of our calling to healing the world. And that's rather a big calling. But we first start with healing the self, healing others. So the neat part about Reiki Level 1 is that you can also use it for yourself. and energize. It isn't as easy though as having someone work on you.
Oh,
So we're
sure.
both going to work on each other today. Then my husband or my friend will drop by about 3 o'clock.
Okay.
That would be your time, nearly 4 o'clock. And we'll shorten the session if we get through everything today.
Okay.
But
All right.
going to attune you to the sacred energies of Reiki after talk a little bit about Dr. Usui and the history of Reiki. And I've given you some handouts on that.
Yes, I received.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of read one that I have in here that a couple that will give you an idea of what the practice really is about. And basically, you can call it hands-on healing, but you can also call it energy healing because basically, if you look at my website, I talk about what is Reiki healing and
Yeah.
Dr. Usui and his discovery of Reiki, and that's in the handout I gave you. So my connection was discovered before I was ever tuned to Reiki, but I used to go yearly to a lady that did pranic healing, and she would work on all my chakras and call in the angels, and I thought, oh, this is just like heaven itself, you know. And I had a very stressful job teaching K-12 art, and I also taught university art, and I had a lot of deadlines and a lot of pressure and, you know,
Sure.
lots of stress. So I would go a couple times a year, and she would bring in these amazing mediumship messages. I didn't know really, I knew I was a psychic, but I didn't know I was a medium, that I could do it myself. So this lady introduced me to a form of Reiki called pranic healing. But then when I discovered that they were offering a class at St. John's Hospital, and there was a nun teaching it, I immediately jumped for it because I didn't want
Oh,
chronic. I was trained by sisters, and I grew up Catholic. So I felt that there would be more structure and experience. And I was really lucky to get this Sister Ann Matthew, who was very spiritually advanced and taught us a lot of things about the pendulum. Here's my little pendulum. Were you able to get a pendulum or a crystal? Do you have one?
I do. I do. I don't have a pendle, but I do have
A
the,
crystal.
yeah,
Okay. And then if you have a necklace, that would be good if you have a necklace with a crystal on it.
I do. Actually, let me get it.
Well,
Because,
you don't need to right now.
okay.
That crystal is lovely, and we'll use that to
Okay.
send Reiki through the crystal, which is a powerful way to do it. But I'm going to mention a lot of different things. So try to stick with me as I go through
Sure.
the basics. So
You know,
I took Reiki Level 1, and the message I got from Dr. Usui before I even knew him, this is a picture of him. He was an amazing man living in Japan before World War I and late 1800s into the 20s. And he invented a stress reduction laying on of hands, a type of healing. In Japan, they already had acupuncture, they had all these things. So basically, he fasted at Mount Kamara, which is a sacred site in Buddhist tradition in Japan. And he fasted for 40 days praying for enlightenment. And he had already been trained as a physician, and he was a philosopher. He was also an astrologer and a psychic. And
oh,
all of these things combined, he also advised of the emperor and a lot of political people. And he did travel to the United States, but he didn't teach Reiki at that time. That was Mrs. Takato, who came along later. But basically, finally, when he was ready to give up, and this is always the way it is, when you're ready to give up, something comes along. And
yeah.
so on the 40th day of fasting, I don't know how serious the fasting was. It was like Jesus fasting, which was total, or if it was just water fast or just some food. I'm not really sure, but he was alone and he was ready to give up. And then he received this energetic download from divine source. And then he felt his hands getting hotter, and he would put his hands on other people, his associates, and they would heal. So some people call Reiki hot hands, you know, because
Mhm.
the energy is flowing through your chakras and flowing through your hands. But in truth, the crown chakra receives the divine energy from God, goddess, and then it flows down into your hands as the instrument. And everyone can be attuned to Reiki and everyone can learn to use Reiki. So it's a universal language. It doesn't have to sit within the framework of Christianity, but I personally believe that it belongs there because I believe that Jesus was using his hands to heal and he taught other disciples to heal with his hands. And so I very much remember that because I had a past life with him and I remember working with him. What an
Oh,
honor. So, you
wow.
know, that book I have written, Mary Magdalene Speaks, goes into my memories of being with them and being trained with Mary and Jesus. So that's why I work with them and feel close with them. I had no idea that this was ever, you know, happening when I took Reiki. I had only an idea that when I would do readings for people and I would bring in Archangel Michael, they would feel healed through my hands. And I'd say, let me lay your hands on mine. And I would just lightly touch into their energy field to do a reading. And then I would convey all this healing. And they'd say, wow, you know, this, I feel so much better. And then I realized I had the gift of healing along with my psychic gift. And then I decided to, you know, use that gift to help heal others and myself. So, long story short, I went through a lot in about 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, when I had breast cancer. And I got it from the hormones. And then I thought I was fine. And I always was an optimist, but it was discovered. And then I was attuned to Reiki while I had it, didn't know it. And
Mhm.
nobody picked it up. Nobody crystal tested and said there's something going on here. And I sort of sensed that there was going on. But anyway, I had a very long and difficult journey, but I had a lot of love supporting me, and a lot of my groups at that time were meeting in my home, and I was teaching Reiki out of the home. And Reiki was very big in this area. Now it's not so big, and it's like something, I don't know, it seems like it's a fad or something, comes and goes, but it's
Uh,
not really a fad. In my mind, it's a universal you know, symbolism and way of treating people for any kind of energy that is out. And we could call it illness, but it's really all chi energy. So the symbol is Ray and then key. So it looks like Reiki. You
mhm.
pronounce it Reiki, but it's Reiki. So the Ray means divine God. And you
Oh,
think of, you know, like the sun god Ra, you know, in ancient Egypt, they
yeah.
called God Ra or Ray.
Yes.
And Ki is means divine energy or just energy. So if you don't have any energy, you're not going to live very much longer. So it conveys God's energy and balances you back to what would be the divine imprint or the original design. So when I took this class, he came to me, Dr. Usui, I knew nothing about him. He gave me his name, and that was the night before class, and he said, well, this was going to transform my life. And I thought, well, great. It'll transform your life too if you work with it enough and
Sure.
transform other people's lives. So I didn't know that I had cancer. I didn't know I had a very long journey because I had stage 4. I'm perfectly
Wow.
healthy today, but I had to have brain surgery because the breast cancer was in the left breast. They didn't catch it in time. I did. And then I had to catch it again because they didn't catch it. And
Okay.
my hand is permanently paralyzed on this side, my right hand, but it's not totally paralyzed. You can see that I can move it.
Yes.
But they took a lot out of the brain to make sure they got it all, and then sort of ruined my hand. And a lot of healers have said, oh, well, I can work on your hand and, you know, you can regain it, but it's perfectly numb. But I've taught myself how to paint. and I've written 5 books. So I'm doing okay, you know, and I have no recurrence of any cancer, but I use food as medicine. So that's my little personal, you know, brilliant story about how Reiki helped heal me. And all these people were around me at the time. I had a lot of friends that were taking my classes, and they helped me continue to get the guidance that I needed.
Well, that's nice.
So they helped in terms of the sessions. They would do Reiki distance for me when I had a chemo session and that kind of thing. So what it is really is just this divine energy that Dr. Usui received, that I believe Jesus received every time he healed. So I don't see any point in arguing about philosophy or religion when it's a universal system of healing. Being that I'm fairly devout and religious, I feel very at home with speaking about Jesus and his healing. But he didn't call it that, but it is universal healing. And if you've ever had in church people lay hands on you for healing, that is pretty much the same thing, just without all the formal training of Reiki. Now in Japan, they like ceremony, and they do tea ceremony, and they do a ceremony. So we're going to enjoy a ceremony today when I attune you. And it's a beautiful, reverent thing, but you will get the Reiki energy flowing from me and my chakras, from God, divine source, Jesus, into your, through the crown and through your hands, so that you can work on yourself and then work on other people.
Okay.
Do you have some family members that have aches and pains that might benefit?
My husband, my mother,
Yeah.
myself. I
Well, they're
think
going
the
to,
aches and pain of age is always there.
I know. I take supplements a lot for arthritis, and I've got it bad in my back and bone spurs. And then I have, you know, I have constant pain in this right hand because it's numb. It's got neuropathy. I have some neuropathy in my feet now, and that's unexplained. But I know that this is not going to resolve in this lifetime. Archangel Michael told me that. But every time somebody does Reiki on it, you know, my hand, you know, and other parts, I feel an instant surge of like a light. It feels like prayer. It feels like light. It feels energizing, but soothing. And if people in your household have depression or any kind of anxiety, it will calm them very much so. If there's an emergency in your household, with you, if you injure yourself suddenly, you can just go right to the hand positions or wherever you felt led, and you can apply that hand energy through your hands, call forth the Reiki energy in your mind. You don't have to say anything to anyone, and just use that, and it will instantly help someone in an emergency, like a heart attack or something. I'm not saying do not call the doctor or anything. This is not a replacement for medical care, but I feel that it is similar to acupuncture. You've heard of acupuncture?
Yes.
And the beauty of Reiki is that it's without the needles. You don't have to worry about them poking you, you know. So, well, I have had acupuncture. I had it in my early years for migraine headache, and it did work. And then I noticed that after the session, it would sort of, the doctor had to hold enough chi. He was an Oriental doctor, Filipino, and he had to hold enough holy energy inside to put it into the needles. So the needles are not to torture you, it's to put energy where the energy is lacking. And they are trained to read all these pulses. There's like 24 pulses on each wrist. So it's very comparable to the acupuncture, and it's an Oriental method of healing with using the chakra system and the electrical system of the body. But all bodies have an electrical system, and they all have an etheric system, which is the light around you. So when Jesus was talking about be the light of the world, he's talking about, you know, keep your smile going and keep happy, but also emanate that beautiful light within, which you do, and I think I do too. So this is this is the light force that we're working with. And in that body envelope, you contain past lives, you contain all kinds of information about your health. And a good Reiki practitioner that's very experienced can read your entire chakra system with the crystal or with their hands to see what is out and then replace that energy. So in other words, the theory of disease, according to Reiki, is that something falls out of place and then it's either too hot or too cold. In the case of cancer, it's too much heat. So there's this yin yang thing. And then you don't want to necessarily give Reiki to a person that has cancer in that spot. You can give them, you can give them Reiki elsewhere, or once it's been removed, it's safe to give them. But so they have a yin yang type of philosophy. So he in his download, he began to use that universal divine energy, and it is very similar to the Christian technique of laying on of hands. But Reiki has no religious creed because there are people in this world that have zero religion. The primary, I guess, the
Non-believers.
non-believers in this world
Mhm.
are greater than the believers in this world now. Not only Christians, but other religions. And there's plenty of atheism to go around. And so if you practice Reiki in a hospital and you're not, a reverend or anything, you can't go in there and teach.
Provide.
Yeah, you can't do prayer. Now, I always ask, are you comfortable with prayer? Because I think the prayer amplifies the Reiki session. And since I'm an angelic Reiki master, and I've studied with angels for, I don't know, maybe 20 years now, then that angelic Reiki will convey a greater healing because they're the divine creation. And they are God's angels that help to design this particular universe and all of our, creations. So divine father, creation, angel, whatever you want to call it, that is this higher force of energy that is kind of, I would say, supreme. But if I have a client that is non-religious, dropped out of church or whatever, then they're not comfortable with prayer, then I just say it silently. My chiropractor is kind of in that place. I think he's an agnostic, but he doesn't believe in Christ. Every time I try to talk to him about, anything like that, he's completely closed off. So, I just call in his angels for him, and I do it silently because that's all you can do with people. You're not there to convert them anyway. And, a lot of people take offense at conversion stuff, but
Yeah.
I do believe that that the Reiki is a universal form of healing, and you do not need religion to administer it. But however, I do believe that the archangels and the masters that we understand do work more powerfully, and they will step into the Reiki session. So it's like having a Reiki session that's more clinical. You may feel a little heat or something, but you're not going to get the benefit of the prayer, which I think is essential to it. So that's my philosophy anyway. But in Reiki too, we talk about the symbols and then finding your spirit guide. But for this level 1, we're just looking at how it was translated, and it became a very big thing from the 1980s. And the Catholic nuns took the Reiki and they spread it all over. And people used to pay upwards of $10,000 for one level attunement. And they made it so that it was expensive, so that just not every average person could come along and do Reiki. And that they would train for years and years before they would be able to create enough heat in their hands to convey the Reiki. So Mrs. Takata is another person that helped. Her name was Hiwo Takata. She was from Hawaii, but she visited her relatives in Japan, and she had appendicitis at the time. So then, rather than go to a doctor and have it removed, she found out about Dr. Usui's Reiki clinic, and he had other people that were physicians that were working in this Oriental method. And he applied about a month's worth of daily Reiki. And she looked he had it under a sheet, and she pulled the sheet off and she said, "Where is the heating element? Where is the heat? I'm feeling all this hot. Why am I so hot?" He said, "That's Reiki." So he healed her naturally, and she didn't have to have surgery. So
That's great.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
and she spread the Reiki tradition through Hawaii, and then it came kind of slowly to the West Coast. And now, there's a lot of Reiki masters out there, and you can take the class with many different people. But there is what they call a lineage. So I'm a Reiki master, and my lineage is that I first started with Sister Ann Matthew. The second Reiki attunement I received with Brenda Peterson, who was a rainbow Reiki master. And then the third Reiki attunement I received from a friend, Michaeline McDonald, who was a Reiki master who was attuned in the traditional Usui form of Reiki. So mainly I'm a Usui, but because I've developed my own classes on angelic Reiki, I'm really an angelic Reiki master. And there aren't too many of them in the United States. That's bigger in the United Kingdom. But I've sent you some information. It's probably not relevant to this class, but the archangels get involved in angelic Reiki. So that's really my calling. But that's the beauty of Reiki, because you can go up in vibration and increase your skills and consciousness that way. So it's passed down from student to teacher. And on your certificate, you will see my name. And then if you go to another Reiki master to learn Reiki 2, I recommend that you study Reiki 2 maybe in a year after practicing, and then another year, Reiki level 3, if you want to teach it. So that's how it goes. But I will teach you the basics of setting up a Reiki table and a practice if you want to do it on the side. Do you work full-time, Elizabeth, or are you at home?
I do work for.
Yeah. Yes. And do you work in a healing profession, may I ask?
I do work at university at the counseling center, mental health.
Wow.
So
that's wonderful.
So I was working previously in a recovery center for addictions. So whether alcohol or drugs, and I used to work there previously before I worked at the university counseling center.
So are you a certified MSW counselor?
I am a mental health first aid certified, and I am certified medical assistant. So I used to work directly with patients, but directly in the way of having contact with patients or having contact with a student at this moment who are going through anxiety and all kinds of mental health issues, ADHD or ADD or
there's
eating disorder. There's so many of it.
Yeah.
So
are you in a city or a suburb area?
In the suburb. We are in the suburbs.
Good. That's a little safer. I worked in mental health in the urban center and in downtown Cleveland when I was very young. And there were a lot of people that had schizophrenia, and they were dangerous. And
yes.
They let them out on the street. They released them from the mental hospital, which was a good thing, but then they had nothing and nowhere to go.
And that's the major problem when they go for a detox or recovery. The first step is there, but then the patient needs to follow other recovery steps, because it's not that 30 days treatment. You cannot be detoxed fully and had a recovery path from there. You have to follow the outpatients, you have to follow the PHP system. So when you are fully recovered, then they can let you out to the society again. Otherwise, it's just falling back in the old path. And
yeah,
very
I know.
different.
I worked with mental health, which I got out of that in about a year. But I met a lot of interesting people and I had a lot of experiences, but it
Mhm.
was affecting me at night where I would be worried about people that I had to, had
Yes, it is. I was working
emergency
in a
room.
safe environment, thank goodness, and because I was living in the suburb, the center was located in the suburbs. Also, that make it more safe.
Safer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
safe.
see, I was working in the downtown Cleveland ghetto, and there were a lot of Black people being serviced, and it was
Oh,
very odd, but I had a few on my caseload that I think they deliberately, I was supposed to be doing art therapy, and I had lost my job at teaching at the Catholic school, and I did this for 1 year, and I
it
really
is
had a
hard
hard
for
time.
them.
It
Yeah,
was really hard. And I wrote a personal journal about my experiences with them. And it was meant to be somewhat humorous, but I mean, there were guys that had killed people.
yeah,
I couldn't accept, I mean, I found it when I read the description of the patient, I approached other people and I was like giggling about it. It was immature. It was a
sure,
reaction because I couldn't imagine somebody.
sure.
So, but then we had a little song about this one client. I shot the sheriff. He really shot the sheriff, and we went around singing, I
Of
shot the
course.
sheriff. You know,
Yeah.
it was just a way of coping with the stress. But the other lady was suicidal and she had shot her husband. And I began to put together that these people that were running the center were not attending work
No,
and they were Black and they were on a full scholarship and they were never there. And I was the only one there and they were afraid that I would tell. So they put these dangerous people on my caseload in order for me to get to resign. So
of
it was
course.
regulation. So it was very hard, but I wasn't trained in that, but I did have some art training for the whole person when I studied Elizabeth Kubler-Ross drawing method in
Okay.
graduate school. And I love her and I love, painting and drawing and analysis. And that's where I'm at with the mental health and the healing because art is very healing too. But one
Oh,
thing I
yes.
might mention is that if you do Reiki silently when you're one-on-one with these people, you don't have to put your hands on them. You can just hold out your hands and send the Reiki.
Yes.
You'll be surprised how well they'll feel better. There was a study of a number of studies in hospitals with Reiki. They're using it for primarily cancer patients, which benefit them the most because they have the hardest time going through the treatments. They're hellacious. But basically, um, there's all these new kinds of programs for Reiki, AIDS, victims of war, hospice care, personal trauma, accidents, stressed muscles, and then mental health too. And all of them seem to respond in one way or another to the presence of Reiki. And I don't think you would be able to by law touch them, but with a form that says personal to personal in
Yeah.
your own space, your own office space, or your own home.
Yes.
I have my house is full of Reiki right now, and the Reiki masters around it. Ascended masters, Mother Mary, Jesus, Archangel Michael. So that's what I relate to, and I bring those people in.
Yeah.
But
I
I
am.
don't treat for mental health or
Yeah.
for physical ailment, but I do nutritional counseling for cancer patients. And I did
Oh,
a very long-winded one this week with a Reiki session. But the lady she was a big organizer for all the channelers out in California. And she was driving out there and she did not take the time to do a one-on-one session to let me read her vibration and
mm-hmm.
do a full reading. She just was interested in collecting knowledge. And then she told me after the session, the following day, that she was going to use all my material for her next book and that she was getting
Oh,
sent. But she never asked my permission for that. And
oh, wow.
furthermore, she has cancer and she wasn't taking the steps that I was recommending. She was
Yeah.
just gathering information and then taking it from me. And then I asked her for a donation. She didn't even donate. She's such a big deal that she's
Mhm.
just too good for that. So I thought, the heck with her. I won't use her name, of course, but
Sure.
in the New Age community, there's a lot of, it has nothing to do with Reiki. This is just, promotion and people expecting things for free. The philosophy is for Reiki is that you charge for the session. The reason you charge is that because without charging, and I do it for free for little mini sessions because people need help at the end of my Zooms.
Sure.
And that is a gift. But if I have a session one-on-one, then I charge. And you would want to charge because I find that if people get it for free, they come to expect it for free and they
For free.
undervalue it. And she
Yeah.
got this for free. And I did a whole Mother Mary channeling and she could barely hear it because she was driving in the car. And I thought, that's
course.
not valuing me or respecting. So
Not even herself, because if she had respected herself, she should have paid attention to that because will have benefit her even more.
exactly. And she said she felt Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene were her primary spirit guides. And I said, well, that's probably true. And I will do this beautiful reading. And I had Mother Mary's words and her recommendations. And it was like, oh, bye. Well, I got to go now. Bye. And not really absorbing
Yeah.
and not taking time to meditate and let the energies. So when you have a client, she wasn't, we were not agreed that she would donate, but I should have been upfront and asked her so that she would make time to do the session properly. But she says, well, this is all the time I've had. So, I had a dream about this prior to the session. And in the dream, there was this lady at this conference. It must have been her. And she had a fire going on. And she wanted every other person to put the fire out. And then people came around and put the fire out. And some guy sarcastically said, okay, so have you learned your Girl Scout lesson yet? Which was, you're responsible for your own disease. You're responsible to listen when you're getting an alternative treatment. So, this happens in the New Age community, and that's okay. It's a learning experience for her and me. Maybe she'll get back to me and set up a proper session where I can truly work. But I bring through the vibration of the name of the master. For me, that's very, very important. But it may not be important for you and working with the clients, but you will be amazed if you just ask the Reiki energies to be present, ask your divine to bring them forth, and then just kind of silently below the table, send out your hands. Your hands are the tool, and you'll be surprised. Or ask the client to be in the silence for a while. Meditation is another thing that goes hand in hand with the Reiki. So
it does help a lot. That's something I have learned to do when I is kind of unconsciously maybe at work when I see a student coming in such a distress situation. It's just like by looking at her or by talking to her and comfort her is a way of helping her just download a little that anxiety that they come with. Or just being accepted. Sometimes that's all they needed, to be accepted, to be valued. Because sometimes they feel like they do not belong, they do not fit in the area or in the group that they are to, and they feel that anxiety building from there. So
yes, well, a person like you is an ideal person that is mothering and nurturing. This is what we all need, and the fact that you still have your mother, I'm sure she needs you for support, but you still need her too, because you have a stressful job. So as long as, she understands that this is a sacred thing, and you can tell her, I told my mother was Christian prayer. I didn't tell her Reiki because she wouldn't understand that. She was
and my mother is that kind of person that is from the old school, and they never went through all that. She still, her mentality is still, I feel like she's like 60, 70 years behind in her mentality of accepting. She accepted the healing prayer, but Reiki, it will be something that will be out of her understanding for sure. But when I mention healing prayer, it will be different.
all you have to say for those people is healing prayer.
Yeah.
Because when I was young, I was in the Catholic Church and I would attend these healing prayer sessions with the sisters or with the masses, and I
Mhm.
would receive energy for sure. So it's the universal energy. But
Yes,
for people that are really old fashioned, that is the best way to approach it. I would call it Reiki to the nursing home, and where my
yes,
mother was, they wanted to hire me. I said, well, I live in Illinois and my mom lives in Columbus. Otherwise I'd come, and it was only a part-time job. But they are hiring at nursing homes and other centers for a part-time job for Reiki now.
Reiki.
And you need to be certified and trained. So they're establishing norms, and it's not yet a paid position. But back to this payment, I find that if people don't pay, they aren't obligated to come to the appointment. And it's all about making an investment in themselves. It's not about the money. I don't really have to have the money. I'm retired. I always worked as a teacher, or, I've done a lot of jobs. I did gallery work. I did a lot of things when I couldn't find work as an art teacher,
Sure.
K-12 and professor at the university and the community college. But it was always adjunct. And that was because in this area, they figured, oh, well, she's married. She has a husband. So she doesn't need it except part-time.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And
Yes.
that was sort of, you know, prejudice against women, I think, because I had the same credentials. But I learned a long time ago not to let it bother me. If I got released from a job, it was time to move on. I grew into something new. It's just like when you lose a friend, you grieve
Course.
a little bit, but then you move on and you get a better thing. So
Yeah.
it's always
It's
upward.
not easy. Yeah.
It's an upward growth. So, just keep that in mind and keep
Okay.
credentials up, because it may come along an opportunity for you. You sound
Sure.
like be perfect for working with people that have mental and emotional anxiety and that kind of thing. And I know how deep that can get, because my mother had severe depression, and I would do prayer healing on mom at the nursing home, and she would always enjoy it. She would relax and she would go to sleep. But that was an indication she was receiving something. But I
Sure.
had clients on my table who really received some phenomenal healings, and I received phenomenal healing when I had gone through the brain surgery and I had to have a little bit of radiation up here. 1 45-minute session. I was not going to let them touch my brain.
Sure.
That's what
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what with my speech, the art, everything would have been gone. They wanted to radiate for 2 straight weeks, 8 hours a day, and drill holes in my head.
Uh,
And that was a trauma. And I
oh,
thought, I'm not,
a trauma. Yeah.
yeah, that's inviting trouble. So I looked and looked until I found, 1 45-minute session. It was a new therapy called stereotactic radiation. Didn't hurt any of the other organs, praise God. So I was, in the grace of Archangel Michael led me to this treatment, and Diana too. They both advised me. And then I had this group that was always doing gatherings a couple times a month, and we'd all do Reiki on each other. And so it was a really beautiful experience of healing, but it relaxed me enough to disregard my feelings about being invaded, by all these treatments. And, I kind of was able to disassociate the trauma of the treatment after a while. And now it feels like I never even had it, I
Yeah,
feel
that
normal.
you don't have any side effect of it, because a lot of people have side effect from the radiation.
Well, I did have some ear damage, was very slight, and I had to have the ear cleaned out. And then I
Mhm.
had to have a little drainage of the fluid. And then the side effect of the hand is not due to the radiation, it was due to the surgery.
Mhm.
But I did have radiation damage in this arm, where they radiated just 3 days to
Oh,
radiate this left breast, and it was already gone. And then it swelled, so I have to permanently wear this, especially in the heat, a compression garment. Otherwise, it does swell. So I was left with that, but they took almost all the lymph nodes out to drain.
But those are minor side effects that you are
Yeah.
making you well. I mean,
Oh, yeah, it's something that I need to attend to, but it's not a big deal, you know, like I'm not in a wheelchair. I didn't have any broken bones or anything. People with brain tumors will frequently take all those steroids and everything, and then their speech gets messed up and then they lose the will to live. I never had that. I was very careful with everything I did, not to let them give me too many medicines, very light on medicine. I have to take a seizure pill once a day, but I only take a half, and I use natural CBD oil instead because that works just as well. So a lot of what I had was estrogen low estrogen. They gave me estrogen to replace the low estrogen for the seizures. They were minor seizures, and lo and behold, it caused this big blow up. So please be careful of taking any estrogen or progesterone.
I have not taken any hormones, thank God, since I no longer have, I'm postmenopausal right now, so
Oh,
I had never take any hormone whatsoever. Maybe
I hadn't either.
Just vitamins, and I live on tea, herb tea, and stuff like that. That is
Yeah,
my
I
diet.
love that. I'm drinking my tea right now. I do herb tea too. Now, I will recommend either CBD oil or flax seed because that is phytoestrogenic. And if you get hot flashes, like a lot of people do in menopause or postmenopause, they cure it, but they also cure cancer. So you will never get
I did
cancer.
not have the hot flash.
Well, that's blessed.
Except when I go out, let's say I had a cup of coffee somewhere, then I will have the heat irradiating from the back of, between my shoulder blades, and that's the time. So I identify what the cause and just stop taking them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I started taking flaxseed oil because it was recommended as a herbal cure for cancer. And I was doing, I didn't know I had stage 4. I had stage 3 according to them. And then I started taking this flaxseed oil and it miraculously cured all my seizures without a problem.
wow.
And then I measured the estrogen because I used to get it measured a couple times a year by the neurologist. And the estrogen was a little higher than normal. And then I got afraid of it.
Okay.
So basically, you know,
How do you take the flax oil
and it's a little capsule
okay.
and it's harmless. They also make vitamin D and they put flax oil in there. Now I asked because it showed estrogen in my blood work and it was a little higher, and my estrogen levels were supposed to be below 0 according to my oncologist, but it was at 10, which is not very high. But my progesterone levels were not very high, and I was taking a combo of progesterone and estrogen natural cream, which I thought was harmless. But Archangel Michael told me years ago, he said, that could cause a tumor. And I thought, it never occurred to me that he meant tumor, like cancer. I thought he meant fibroid tumor. You know,
Yeah.
you have to listen to your angels very carefully. And,
Yes.
so anyway, I experimented and then I decided I don't want to take the chance. For a long time, I avoided that, but I used CBD oil because there was so much good research in 2014 on that curing the seizure. So it has no THC, not getting high. It's just to control the seizures. And then I find out later, blessed be, the CBD oil cures breast cancer.
Oh.
There's new studies out. And pharma doesn't want to study that because, you know, they will lose money. That's just over the counter. You can get CBD anywhere. But anyway, I'm diverting. I'm a little inclusive of how I healed with supplements and diet too. And all of it goes together. But I'm just passing this on if you're going through menopause and you need some estrogen to support your bone growth and things like that. So it's up to you what you want to do. But
And if my mother at age of 85, it's safe for her to take the flaxseed oil just as a what's it called then? Like a supplement?
Yes, yeah, it would be, yeah.
Because she always with the aches and pains of her age, of course, but that might be able to help her in other.
Well, it would probably help her emotionally because now
Yeah.
I was on the estrogen cream and I used the internal cream and I rubbed a little cream on my belly 3 times a week and I felt really energized from it. And I
Okay.
took up running at age 50. And by age 54, I had stage 3/4 cancer. So it did give me energy. Now, the flaxseed oil will not give you the same energy and it converts the estrogen into a harmless form, but it's like a key and it goes
Okay.
and it
Just
kicks
open up.
in and it clicks into your cells, but it does not allow estrogen to grow. And I checked this carefully with the NIH and I ran it past my oncologist the year before he retired. And I said, is flaxseed oil proven to be safe? Because I know it's highly phytoestrogenic. And he goes, I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to look into it. And he goes, yes, it's safe. And it's considered safe to take any phytoestrogenic food now.
Oh, okay.
So soy is also good. I eat a lot of soy because I'm soy, tempeh, tofu, because I'm primarily vegetarian vegan.
I see.
And I don't eat pure vegan because I love cheese and I like Italian food and
I
he does too. And I don't eat
Yes.
real pasta. I eat lentil pasta or something because I have gluten sensitivity.
I am gluten intolerance also. I sensitivity. I do not have celiac, but I have sensitivity to gluten. If I overdo, then I started to break in rashes and they're
That's
very itchy.
Yeah,
hands,
you
my
have
toes.
psoriasis or eczema then.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
me too. And I'm always like this and like
And
I'm using,
you have to be careful with the shampoo you're using because some of them have wheat in it.
well, I use only tea tree oil shampoo.
Okay.
And then I use tea tree conditioner. And then I use on the scalp at night, I use a little bit of calendula oil to soften the scales. And then I wash it again the next day. Sometimes I can go every other day, but mostly I need every day for a shower and a scrub.
Yeah.
But I have my own mixture. I use tea tree and mint oil, and
Okay.
I water it down with cortisone lotion and I put it on a little scalp essence. And that helps the itch. But usually in the summer, I don't have many breakouts, but in the winter, I get them all over.
Yeah, usually the winter because
Yeah.
I've got the
Yeah.
elbow, my hands, I had the fingers. The index finger usually is the one that more exposed to the
Wow, yeah.
itchiness and all that.
I've had where my hands and arms just broke out and swelled up. I had a staph infection. I didn't know it, or a strep. I guess it was strep throat. And I got the medication, but then it just kept going and going. And I was presenting a healing, big worldwide healing event called Heal Cancer with Mother Mary. And I was all a mess and I didn't want people to see me, but it was terrible. And I finally had light therapy where you put in the light box, that's another thing. I found that the Reiki helps the psoriasis, but it is not a cure. There
No.
is really,
It's
but
the reaction of the food, the allergy.
it is an allergic reaction. I use a lot of greens. I eat fried kale every day, kale chips. I eat a vegetarian vegan diet. I eat some eggs and some, fish once in a while, but mostly I focus on the soy product and the salad and tempeh and tofu. And then I like all kinds of dairy, so I do eat some yogurt. And I do not eat usually ice cream, things like that. But I do okay, but the more vegetables, the better my skin seems to be.
That's another thing that now that you mentioned ice cream, when I have sweet stuff, I swell up. I guess at the next morning, my face is all like swollen or no matter what I have, especially what I have then at night, I feel very, very tired the next day. It's like it just drained me.
Well, I ate some, it was natural. Oh, well, I have to confess what I ate. It was actually coffee, Ben and Jerry's coffee ice cream with sugar. It was pure cream. And I did not have a good reaction to that. But then the next day I tried the coconut cream,
Mm-hmm.
no sugar, real vanilla. And it was so delicious. And I didn't have,
Sounds like it. Yeah.
so I like coconut milk. It's a little fattening, but it's really good. So, we're solving all our problems today. I'm going to go back to Reiki and relaxation. So on a spiritual level, people receive the divine energy, which
Yes.
what we're going to attune you to today. And you're already a divine being. We all are, but we need to come in tune with that however we can
Mhm.
before we offer a session to other people.
Oh, sure.
One thing I do is I use those symbols. Now, you're not really ready for the symbols, but I'm going to use the symbols and give you an attunement today. So I'm going to put the symbols in my hand, and then I'm going to have you hold your hands out. And I think now is a good time for an attunement. And then
Okay.
we could break for lunch for about a half an hour and
Sure.
absorb all this. But I'm going to offer this to you. So let me look at my methods again. I'm looking at all these papers. And you're going to feel something as you hold your hands open, and then I will have you hold them in prayer. So to
Okay.
begin with, you hold them in prayer. Then you're going to hold them open, and I'm going to trace the symbol, the Seiheki and the Choku Rei, Seiheki. And then the third one is Hone She Zozen, and that's a distance symbol. And then I'm going to attune first your crown, and I will have you sitting in silence and closing your eyes, and then you keep your closed eyes, and then I'll have you open.
Okay.
I'm going to open your crown from the back first, and then
Okay.
I open the crown with the master symbol. So there's a lot of symbols. It is in Japanese. You don't need to learn Japanese, but you do need to memorize the symbols for the next
Sure.
level of class.
Okay.
So it seems like right now is the perfect time. I'm thinking I could bring in a little bit of music for relaxation, but I'm not sure I can get my music to play. So we'll just prepare yourself, close your eyes and be in prayer. And then I will tell you when I'm going to begin. I'm looking for the music right now. If I can get this to go. The music isn't opening. Oh, it is opening. Oh, this is perfect. This is the DNA chakra cleansing music. And starts out with birdsong. Can you hear that, Elizabeth?
No, not yet.
You
I
hear
do
it?
hear now. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to get my symbol guide and you just keep relaxing and I'll tell you when I'm going to attune you. Okay, so keep relaxing and I'm going to open your crown right now with the dicomio symbol. So imagine this light going in, the divine light of Christ going in, anointing you. And I'm now going to draw the symbols into, usually I come from the back, but this time I'm just using the symbols Choku Rei, Seiheki, and Hone She Zozen. And I'm holding the symbols for you, and I'm holding my breath. And your crown is still open, and I'm holding your hands now. So imagine that my hands are holding your hands in prayer, and I'm sending the symbols into your hands in prayer. And then I'm blowing the symbols into your head and into your hands. And now if you would just open your hands, I'm going to work on each hand. And I'm going to put my hand over your hand and trace the symbol on. So I'm working on your left hand right now. Seiheki, Choku Ray. And calming sage Zen. And I'm blowing the energy of the divine Reiki. And if you could open your right hand a little bit more toward me, this one, and the other one, sorry, the left one, that's good. Now I'm going to place that Choku Ray in your hand. And say Reiki. And then Boho Meishe So Zen. And then tap 3 times on each of your palms in the palm. And then you're helping me to put that in your palm. And then I'm having you close your palms together in prayer once again. Just relax and receive the divine symbols of Reiki. May your hands be blessed always with the ability to send Reiki to whomever needs it and to yourself. In Jesus' name we pray. And then I'm coming up to your crown again, and I'm not closing the crown completely, but I'm putting a little Reiki symbol, the dicomio symbol on it with to kind of close that off now. So you're now attuned, and you just may stay in meditation for a while. And I'm going to have you just receive this meditation. Sit in the sun. I'm going to send Reiki to you. The master symbol. Give thanks for this day that you are now attuned to Reiki Level 1, sacred ceremony that has been passed on for at least 100 years. And I ask the divine guidance of Mother Mary and Jesus to allow you to work in whatever ways that Spirit calls you to in this sacred initiation for your family, yourself, and for the world, that we may be united as Reiki sisters in sharing this great gift with others. And know that you can reach me at any time if you have a question about Reiki that we did not cover today. And just take deep breaths and relax your shoulders now. You may allow yourself to release your hands and open them. And how do you feel after the attunement?
Oh, my hands are all tingling, my shoulders as well.
Me
Oh,
too. I'm sending it to you, and you can send Reiki to me.
yes.
Hands. And we'll just do this for a few minutes. Now I'm going to show you a little technique while you're sending me Reiki. I'm really feeling your Reiki. You really had a good session. And I'm testing the crystal. So this is the pendulum crystal. But if you don't have a pendulum, here's what you can do. I'll show you my handmade pendulum that I invented years ago. Art students. Oh, here it is. First crystal necklace that I ever made was in junior high art class that I was teaching some 20 years ago. And you can make a crystal pendulum. This is a little bit mixed up, and I probably won't be able to get this other crystal. Oh, I did get it loose. So you see what I have here. I
Yes.
used to wear it so you can get a smaller crystal and put on a necklace. And that
Okay.
works just as well as a pendulum. You can buy the
Yeah.
pendulums online too. But I think hand making it and wearing it or
It
putting it
have
close to
to be a specific crystal or any type.
a clear quartz is the best.
Okay.
The best for clearing anything. And the quartz is very ancient and it carries earth history. So it carries the vibrations of the past person that handled it too. So you always want to soak your crystals in salt water. But if you were to a
Mhm.
large piece of jewelry, you would just get some wire. Like you can order silver wire online, but this
Yeah.
is not, I think this is actually silver wire. I changed it. But you can also get craft wire at Walmart and wrap it up and then put a little glue on it. And
Same.
practice makes perfect. So I'm just going to demonstrate. I say no to the crystal, and that's going no.
Mhm.
I say yes to the crystal,
And
and
it's
I'm
going in
not going,
circle.
and it's going into a counterclockwise circle, which are the vibrations of your own chakras. So I'm going to test you right now, Elizabeth. Now you're feeling pretty good because you just had that Reiki attunement, right?
Yes.
And I'm giving you Reiki with my hand as we speak. And then I'm stretching down and imagine I'm looking at your body and everything. And it could be my body. One of my lower chakras is out. We're going to talk about the chakras. But that happens with me. But do you don't have any lower chakra issues, do you? Female issues or a lower stomach or anything like that? So it's probably
Not that I know of it.
okay, so it's mine. I'm picking up from me because I'm scanning your body. But when you have the person on the table, which I will
Yes.
show you when Dennis comes back, I invited him to be back about 3. And then if my friend drops by, fine. But she's very independent. She's only had a Reiki class and she's already set up as a healer in town with her little shop and everything. So I hope she drops by because she isn't familiar with all the technique. So this is the pendulum, which it really has an advantage because this has the crystal on the bottom and you can get any color you want. I like the pink quartz, but the clear quartz is a very good quartz that you have. And I teach you a little bit about how to read the crystal and read the body. But basically, you're testing all the chakras as we go down, the 7 chakras, starting with, I'm going to hold the chakra diagram up. And we'll do this and then we'll break for lunch. Since I'm kind of on a roll now, I might as well do it. I just have to find my sheets here. I think you have that sheet. It's called chakra system, right? Here's the thing I was trying to send you.
Okay.
Just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Honor your parents, teachers, and elders. Earn your living honestly. Show gratitude to every living thing. That's a nice philosophy. Now
That that's beautiful.
did I put it up to the? I know I said it someplace. I've got a pile of papers, so bear with me. But I was just going to loop into the chakra system. You should have that chakra system. I think I sent it to you. It's a little watercolor of my own that talks about the colors of the chakra system. Here we go. And it should look like this. And then we'll break for lunch. So this won't be long. It's very easy to understand. So your crown, I colored it kind of gold. Can you see that all right?
Yes, I did. I do. I do see
And
them.
you have it in your files probably. I know I sent it. So I colored it into a purple gold because you have purple at the crown, but above that you have gold crown. And
Oh.
everyone, whether they're royalty or not, has a crown chakra. And that's how we got the attunement and the download of energy today. How beautiful. So the crown, the third eye is represented by my little eye here. You can see
Mhm.
that eye. And
I
that is,
carry with me a little and let me see. I can put it close to you. It's like
oh, that's beautiful. And is that
and
jade or what is the
is I don't know what is the stone, the crystal inside. I bought it like this. And it's like yellowy or like amber.
oh, okay, it's an amber. All right. Well, I'm not able to identify it from here, but that might be the thing that you want to take off and use today for practice.
Okay.
So
All right.
we'll just when we get back. And then the third eye always opens, and
Mhm.
I can open your third eye if you would like me to today.
Yes.
Um,
Would love that.
okay, we'll do that in a little while after I finish talking. And then this throat chakra is the chakra for personal expression, speaking, being clear in your message, being confident in your message. And you're all of those, and so am I. So there's nothing wrong. But if you get a sore throat, it could be from too much talking. And in my case, I get it from too much talking.
Sure.
But sometimes I have chronic strep infections. I used to have it when I was teaching, but I was picking up a lot of germs from the
Of course, for talking.
that
I
kind.
used to had a lot of strep throat when I was a child.
Me too.
A lot of it.
And you know what? That is what causes the psoriasis, the strep throat infections.
Yeah.
Later result in
I
psoriasis.
even had a ear damage. Consequently, or I had a scar tissue in the ear on the left side because of the infection that I used to get. So sometimes I have to clear my throat several times. I feel like an engine is not starting, so I used to joke around, say, "Oh, my engine does not want to start today because I was constantly clearing my throat. It's like something is there from picking out stuff."
We'll work on that when I work on you too. So that throat thing has been affected with me too. I had an early fear of public speaking, and
Oh,
I
I am very
taught
fearful.
college, and I traced it back to a past life where I was executed and I had to give an eloquent speak and then get executed. So I was
Mhm.
afraid of large groups of people and talking because I associated with
Sure.
dying, you know? So I didn't know that for a long time. And I thought it was something that my mother had instilled because she was never a great speaker. And I thought, you know, when I was young, when I was being carried by her, she was
Mhm.
always sick and she was teaching and she was always having to go to the bathroom to throw up. So I think it was two
Yeah,
imprints that I had, but all these imprints come from experiences from, you know, your past, but
sure.
they can be cleared. And a lot of strep throat is very common in people that are communicators too. And that's when you're overdoing, you know? So
Yeah.
it's a pleasure to work one-on-one where I don't have all these questions and all these different people. It's really the best way to get your attunement. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really a pleasure to work with you today. So you know, I had started a little strep throat 2 days ago, and I take a little capsule of oregano oil. It is the best thing. And it is an old Italian remedy. And
Yes.
you can make it yourself, but I take a very low grade. It's not essential oil, but tincture of oregano in oil. And
Oh,
it's very
okay.
good for a throat or ear infection. I will type it in if you would like to know more
Yeah,
about
that would be awesome.
called oregano oil. I'll show you. Now I'm almost done with the chakras. So we then move from here. There's an extra chakra called the thymus, which makes your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Show that generally on the diagram, but that can be out. And then the heart, of course, is they say it's now the brain of the person, that the brain isn't really the brain. The brain is the heart. You
The
know,
heart.
all our politicians and leaders had more heart and less brain, you know,
Yes.
right
And
now
they had none.
they seem to have none. Yeah. So the heart is considered the green color. The blue is, you know, the throat. The indigo is the eye or the third eye. And then the sun, well, the heart is very important. That's the chamber where you call in the masters, you call in Jesus, you call in Mother Mary, and
Mm-hmm.
they sit in your heart, and you can really feel the difference as you're conducting
Sure.
session. You can really feel the difference personal. So it's a personal connection, but also the love that you have for your family, for your friends, all that is in your heart. So you have to strive to keep that heart free from anxiety. And that has been one of my themes in my earlier years. I had a lot of fear that I didn't know that I had, that I
Mhm.
thought I had confidence. I thought I had everything, but I didn't. And everything, things
Yeah.
blocking me. So you have to work on blocks. And that's where, you know, the blocks, like I had some anxiety and it was residing right here in the breast on this side of the heart. And I would get rapid heartbeat and that kind of thing. And I didn't really know about it until I went through breast cancer. And then I realized, oh, that anxiety that I was holding there, that
It's
caused,
accumulating in there.
that was part of the cause. It wasn't all of it. But you know, and at this stage of life, I'm older. I don't have any anxiety, but I also have to not, you know, I don't have to teach 30 classes a day, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever number of classes, 30 kids every 30 minutes kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So less anxiety, the better. So the whole philosophy of Reiki is that it clears out the energy that could contribute to disease. It doesn't cure the disease necessarily. You need medical intervention for that to happen, usually, but not always. You can use supplements and herbs if you can get that to work. That's my philosophy, is better to use food and better to use natural supplements, but it is not wrong to accept medical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a good idea if you pick up something with your crystal test to tell your client, you need to go to see the doctor. This is something I'm going to move for you
Yeah.
if I can, but I don't practice magic. I don't practice medicine. And just be clear about it, because
Yeah.
some people think, oh, I can't wait for my healing. Well, you know, your healing is going to happen through interventions of your own
Absolutely.
and the
We need to do
doctor's.
our part as well.
And
That the energy can only do so much.
that's right. Now, you know, I do believe in the Lord's shrine healing people, and I believe that the little saints all over the world have, you know, shrines, and holy water do have miraculous powers. I don't deny that. But I didn't receive my healing that way. I had to go the traditional route, you know.
Yeah.
But in so many ways, like just relieving myself of the seizures, I did receive natural healing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it just depends on the severity of the case. But if you know a person has cancer, you should not promise that you're going to be able to
Oh
remove
yeah.
cancer. Now, I know Kimberly talks about that in her practice, but it's kind of a borderline. I would not guarantee
So
that.
that there.
But
Yes.
because I know people that went to her that still had stage 4, you know, and did not get better. And I worked with them too. And it was not my place to remove that. And it was
Sure.
the will for them to pass on for whatever reason. We all have our own journey and our time comes. But until such time, we are to remain as healthy as possible. And
Absolutely.
and this is what Reiki is all about. So we talk about the heart. Then the solar plexus is right at your belly button. You can feel that right now,
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth. And
Yeah.
you know, you can touch into these places as we speak about them. And I did a whole Mary Magdalene um, um, meditation on the chakras. And if I find it, I'll send it to you later. It's
Okay.
on YouTube, but it's very beautiful and it energizes all the chakras. And she talks about Jesus driving out the 7 demons, but she said it was just debris from her chakras. So Jesus
Oh,
actually was just igniting her chakras. That was all it was. It was a chakra healing. So she
it's
really
beautiful.
was not possessed. I don't think she was possessed. But anyway, the solar plexus is your self-esteem. And you, when I do hypnosis on people for weight loss or past life or whatever, I imagine the sun is shining brightly right on the solar plexus here. And it feels so good to have the warm sun on a hot day on the beach. And then you just get into that meditation of the solar plexus. So that's a belly button. And then the lower chakra, the orange, represents the uterus or the fallopian tubes, or, that female organ in there, and all that accompanies it, and family life and sexuality. And that can be blocked and it can cause a lot of problems. So it's not to be underestimated. But when I teach this class, I just refer to them as sexual organs. And, if
course, that
everybody has a problem with that, I would not work directly on that, particularly hand touching, unless it's female to female and you're comfortable with that. But I would never work that on a male. In fact, I take very few male clients except on the Zoom, because some people use Reiki in the wrong way. I'll just put it that way.
yeah,
I've had people that worked on me in Reiki classes come and lay their hands all over me, and that, like, obviously they were attracted to me and it was not the vibration of healing,
yeah,
So that happened to me only once. Most people are ethical, but I never touch in breast. I would not touch lower. I would touch hip if they have a hip out, but it usually, with only permission, should you touch any sensitive areas, because some people have been sexually abused, not by
yeah,
Reiki, but by clergy or by other
yeah.
family
In
members.
so
or
many
God
cases.
forbid. So you just want to be careful of these areas, but it's very important to keep them clear. So I work about 6 inches above, and I just convey the energy to that area, and I don't talk about it. And I don't tell the person what I'm picking up. If it's something really serious or something, I just say, well, maybe you should, have the doctor check you out.
Yeah,
So that's where I defer to modern medicine. So then the final chakra is the root chakra, which is elimination. And that's at the very base of your spine. And it also, it has to do with moral living. It has to do with being faithful to your family and to others, and being honest in sexual relationships. So it has to encompass family relationships and harmony and all kinds of things like that. So sometimes I felt myself to be out in these 3 chakras, and I inadvertently didn't realize that I was out of harmony with myself, and then I had illnesses come over me because of these 3 chakras being sort of out,
Definitely.
because, I'm older and I'm not very active that way. So other
It's
healers
the same. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's the same way with me.
they're kind
Especially
of shut down,
and yeah, and especially since my husband had been several years ago, let's say 5, 6 years ago, 2019, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He has surgery, chemo, all the treatments. And since then, of course, that area have been is a less of our worries. So
Yeah.
and I have been that way. So I don't see it as an issue, not for me at least.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
so it is what it is. I'd rather him be healthy than anything else.
Yes. Well,
So
I feel the same way. And my husband takes it a little harder, but when I started the channeling work back when I was 47, and I'm 70 now, so,
yeah,
it's been a long time I've been doing the
sure.
spiritual work, but it raises your Kundalini energy up to the crown.
Yes.
You're less interested in that kind of thing, because it's more personal development than it is having a family, or
Yeah.
and so I think he takes it a little harder than me, but he also had an injury where he can't lay on one side, and I have the injury on the same side. My right side is compromised. So we have trouble laying together in bed and coming together. So it's just, to me, it's not an issue, but
the
I-
same for me. It's not a,
It's not something I miss. In fact, I still feel happy and I still feel energized, but I do realize that I need to lay some crystals on these lower chakras. And I have this wonderful biomat crystal bed. And here's my Reiki attunement that I couldn't find. Figures. So I want to show you the bed and I'll set this up. But I think we should break for lunch. It's 2 o'clock and
all
come
right.
at 2:45. That would be your time, 2:47. So you would come back at 4:45. And you don't have to turn it off. We can just let this,
Yeah, I just
on.
want to leave it on.
Yeah, just mute it if you
Okay,
want. And
sure.
then leave it open so I don't have to have you hop on. But I could stop the recording and then it'll make this recording and then we'll have a second recording. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Yeah,
Okay, let
definitely.
me stop this recording, but we'll leave this open.
Okay,
I'm gonna stop this recording